Still waiting.
All right, we're going to bring Aditi in the mix here in just a minute. We're also going to get to Baker, who may, let's start the conversation now. If Aditi comes in, we'll get back to it. But Baker may start for the Rams today.
This is crazy.
Tonight.
It's crazy.
Let me tell you something, and I may regret saying this in a month.
Don't you say this.
I think this is the best place for him to be. I actually think, and I've been as hard as Baker as Bull has, he's not as bad. Can we all agree he is not as bad as what he showed in Carolina?
Sean McVay may be a good coach, but they're terrible right now.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, when they are healthy.
Yeah, but he's a free agent. I don't know that he's going to be there.
Well, I'm not sure.
I agree with you that if he does end up there next year, it is a good spot.
This could be a really good spot for him. This could be the best thing. I think I said on this show, I wrote it, I don't know. I never liked the Carolina fit for him because he was going into a situation that was even more volatile than Cleveland was. Matt Rule's an awful NFL
although
coach.
there were an awful lot of Baker bros saying he has so much talent around him there.
No, I didn't like that spot. Yeah. And now I think he's in a good spot. I'm not saying he's going to throw over 300 yards tonight.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously that's a good franchise when they're healthy. Obviously, Sean McVay's a good offensive coach. This could be a really good thing for him.
But isn't Stafford the starter next year?
If he plays, who's to say he doesn't walk away? I think there's a chance.
Matt Stafford looked terrible this year.
But he was hurt.
He
looked terrible.
He looked trash.
But he may, if he steps. Listen, if Baker, I don't think Baker is being guaranteed a starting job anywhere at this point.
No.
There's no way.
No.
But if Matt Stafford retires, he would have a chance to start for the Rams next year if they brought him back. And yes, it would be a good spot because next year he'll have Cooper Kupp. But right now, he's not. I can't imagine he's going to show much.
I'm going to say
because their running game stinks, their offensive line stinks, and Cooper Kupp's hurt. They got nothing.
If there's any, we're going to find out today, or if he does play, how much coaching matters in the NFL, right? You're going to find out just how much.
Well, tonight is going to be just a slim down, if he actually plays.
Yes, but it'll be slimmed down. But I'm looking at Baker more like 5 games. Like, I'm looking for it like the same way with Deshaun Watson. 5 games, can you get better build-ups or something?
Yeah.
And I like.
But it's not like McVay's done a good job this year. I mean, his team's they go from they're tied for the 3rd worst record in the NFL.
I mean, they lost the receivers. Their running game isn't what it was.
Andrew Whitworth retiring was big. All right, we got Aditi?
We do have Aditi, yeah, and I don't know who's on what IFB, so I apologize if I'm talking in your ear. We switched. Literally, Aditi, this has been the technological show.
It's been a crazy day.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
All the IFBs are messed up.
I apologize for looking down. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I had a blue screen for a good 4 minutes.
Let me tell you what's happening here. Yesterday, our soundboard crapped out in the middle of the show, so we had to cancel the second hour of the show. We only did 1 hour. Today, right before the show started, Jay got into a serious car accident. He's fine, but his car is trashed. Then G got caught up in the traffic behind that accident. So Jay didn't come. G got in here last second. So things were just, and we're having issues still.
Wait, but Jay is okay?
He's fine.
Jay's okay. Jay's okay.
He's fine.
He offered to walk here.
He offered to
do
walk
the show,
here,
and I said he should.
I thought I saw. I was like, "Is that kid? Come on, man."
But why didn't she pick him up?
He looked decent.
Gee, if you were behind the accident when you drove by, why didn't you pick him up?
He had to deal with the insurance and police.
Jay had
and all
to stay there and deal with the insurance and the police. Apparently, his car is totally trashed, but he is
I'll show
fine.
you guys the video after. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
What happened?
Apparently, somebody T-boned him.
Someone ran a stop sign and T-boned him. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
he's lucky he wasn't seriously hurt.
No, Jay's very lucky. And Jay said he's doing good, so we are very thankful.
Go
Passenger side or driver's side?
It hit. I don't know. I don't want to show you guys the video because I don't have the HIPAA violation for that. But Aditi, I'll show you after. And I don't know where it hit.
Okay.
But he's fine.
He's okay.
But he
Jay is
should go
okay.
to the doctor just to
Jay's
be on
okay.
the safe side. Sometimes
Yeah.
you get in an
for
accident. I remember getting in a car. Somebody hit me once. It wasn't that bad. They hit me from behind, but. I remember I felt fine, and then like a couple hours later, my neck was hurting because the adrenaline in the moment, you don't know. Sometimes things start hurting later, so he should probably go get himself checked out. But as far as we know, he's fine. Obviously, there was nothing serious injuries, which is good. So on a much lighter
Which is funny
note,
because in the last show, he was so great about both Spiro and Jay. So I messaged Spiro and Jay, and I was going to tell him. I'll just have to text him now and tell him what Spiro and Jay had to say about him.
Exactly. All right, Aditi, we were just talking about Baker Mayfield. he may actually – this is stunning to me. I mean, they just got him off waivers on Tuesday. He's having a miserable season. Jason's right. None of us, even the biggest critics like Jason and I, did not think he'd be this bad. And now he might start. I mean, they went from the Super Bowl champs to picking up a quarterback off the waiver wire who's starting. I don't think we've ever seen a team go downhill this quick. Have we?
Well, I mean, I guess that whole F them picks thing has finally maybe
but you know
caught
what?
up to that.
If you
Are
win
we
the
allowed to
Super
say
Bowl,
that?
it's worth it. It's worth it. You won the Super Bowl.
Well, and that's the interesting question, right? Let's deal with the Baker part of it first.
Yeah.
So I think that let's hope that Baker plays free. At this point, Baker has nothing to lose. There is no reason to be tight. There is no pressure. Nobody expects a single thing of you. All right?
Yeah.
You showed up on Tuesday. How much of the offense can you possibly know? You don't even know your teammates' names at this point. Go out there, ball out, have fun, and see what happens. And I think this is very similar to a quarterback that is in an environment where he feels like, okay, this is my last chance. This is my moment. It's one of those like pressure burst pipes and it also makes diamonds. How do you handle it? Do you seize the moment? This is my chance to prove who I am, or do you get tight because of it? And obviously you guys just made the point in Carolina, there were a million things going sort of not necessarily amazing, but I don't know that Baker necessarily seized the moment as well as he could have. And perhaps some of that might have been the tightness. That was a year ago when he didn't have the contract extension. And we saw earlier in the season, he maybe didn't just say, okay, I'm just going to ball out and let's see where the chips fall. So now there really is nothing to lose. You just got to LA.
Yeah.
Go out and play and see what happens. And I think it would be a heck of a story. I mean, I think it would be a really, really great story to see him get out there and play. And why not? I mean, why not? But it is a really terrible story. And I also saw something interesting the other day, if we're going to go back to the Rams. Would you take Matthew Stafford today over Jared Goff?
Oh, that's
considering
kinda
their age, where they are, how much they cost, whatever.
I mean, I wouldn't want either at this point,
Give me golf.
but I'd still take Stafford and hope that he can come back healthy because I know that Stafford's ceiling is higher than Goff's ceiling.
I don't think I'm
But
curious.
this is the question of what you were saying about, well, you got your Super Bowl. This is the magic of an executive who can simultaneously build for the long term and know when to kind of cash in some chips for the right now, you know? And so it's interesting to see how that plays out. And we've talked about this a lot on this show. This is what's so funny, guys. Can you tell, like, I'm doing my best not to use the Steelers or the Bengals or the Ravens as an example, and I'm just failing because I feel like I have perfect examples with those three clubs right there, and I don't know how to do it without mentioning another club. Somebody bail me out right here. But again, that's kind of the point. Like, you do want to always be somewhat relevant, so build for not just today, but also tomorrow and 2 years from now and 3 years from now. But you have to be smart and savvy enough to know, okay, this is not when we give up everything, but this is when we maybe pull, one or two bold moves to get us over that hump. And I think the Rams clearly were just like, no, we're chasing that one big thing. They got their one big thing, but now what's the fallout from that?
I think you can use the Chiefs in that, right? They had Alex Smith, but then they drafted Patrick Mahomes. They found Tyreek Hill, but then they refused to pay him all that money and traded him to the Dolphins. And they kind of find other little pieces and parts around to still stay relevant. They don't really have a crazy running game or a high-priced defensive player, but they consistently are there because they found out, okay, well, Kelsey is important and the quarterback's important, and they always find a way to kind of reinvent themselves and stay relevant to a certain extent.
But ultimately, they're
Okay,
there all
but
the
you're
time because
also
of the quarterback.
talking. Yeah, exactly. You're also talking about one of the top two quarterbacks in the league, and I might struggle to, you're talking about a transcendent talent.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a transcendent offensive designer, engineer, and play caller. Not every coach is going to be able to make as many different varied parts work in a magical way, the same way that Andy Reid can. And not everybody has a Patrick Mahomes. So like they have the luxury of doing that to some degree and not having to sell the farm to get there because you've got a player that can carry the whole team there. But of course, they also have, like one could argue, why don't they spend more money on their defense? One could argue that, or why have they not devoted more to something else? I mean, that's why this is so much more than just getting out on the field. This is why so much of this is a chess match on so many different levels, not just on game day, but just in roster construction.
I want to go back to Baker for a quick second. I was a little bit surprised that the Rams claimed him on waivers. And I'm wondering, do you think that there was any sort of backdoor maneuvering to get him there? Because when he asked for it and was granted his release, I thought, okay, for the first time, he has the ability to choose his next team. And he didn't. The Rams claimed him. Just curious, as well as you know him, do you think he's happy they claimed him? Do you think he had something else in mind? It was just curious to me that he asked for his release and now he still didn't get the opportunity to pick his next team.
I think he's probably intrigued by the idea of playing for Sean McVay.
Agreed.
And this is actually taking me back to a conversation I had. This is interesting. Okay, so week 17 last year, I'm at the Rams at Ravens game. And as we all know, Odell Beckham found so much success in LA that he did not find in Cleveland. And on the field pregame, Les Snead, the Rams general manager, and I are kind of talking about this a little bit and about how Odell didn't necessarily have the same freedom within the parameters of Kevin Stefanski's Browns offense that he did have in LA with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. And part of that is Sean McVay and how he sees things. And Les Snead was telling me, and part of that also is that Matthew Stafford was sort of used to this with Megatron. And that Matthew Stafford had said that Megatron wasn't necessarily the guy that ran the most precise, timed out routes, cutting at exactly this moment and looking for the ball at exactly this moment, that he was a guy that would freelance a little bit more. So Stafford was more used to kind of playing that way. And McVay clearly appreciated that, where perhaps Stefanski liked a little bit more discipline or strictness or whatever with Baker Mayfield and ran that timing and that rhythm and timing offense. I wonder if part of Baker, who loved to, right, Jason, like loved to freelance a little bit, loved to kind of play, let's call it backyard football, is he excited to play for a head coach who's not going to constrict him that much? Is he excited to play for a head coach who says, just go out there and ball, go out and find your open man? And especially on a day like tomorrow, I mean, today, we're Thursday. I can't keep anything straight.
They all
I'm
run
sorry,
together.
guys. Yeah, well, I've been with a sick 3-year-old for 4 straight days, and I'm about to lose my mind. So, if it's not already lost. In any case, yeah, I think that there's something intriguing about that, too. I mean, you made the point. Look, I'm boring the crap out of Adam.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I love
And
how
you're
she
so
just calls us out.
I love it too.
Something
Adam, I
interesting.
just had to
Adam,
look
when you're
something up
talking
real
in the back
quick.
of the
You're not
class.
boring me at
She's
all.
like a kindergarten teacher trying to keep us all in line.
Yeah, keep me in line. I like it. Go ahead.
Jason, don't be throwing empty water bottles.
I have an
I'm
empty
intrigued.
coffee cup. I'm waiting for the right opportunity.
Look at your Twitter. Look at your Twitter when I'm off the air. Gee,
He already spilled coffee all over himself this morning.
Oh, it was a disaster.
Man,
And that's like the 17th worst thing to happen this morning.
I blame Steve for putting me on camera while I was looking at my phone.
Wide shot. I think they appreciate when
Zoom.
when I'm calling you out on
Oh,
what
yeah.
needs to be
Yeah,
called out
we
on.
like it.
did he? Maybe I don't know. I've been looking at the extent of the quarterback play, and maybe it was us. Maybe we just naturally felt that it was easy for quarterbacks to put up these huge numbers. Overall, I just see like the quarterback play. It reminds us that playing that position is kind of tough, right? It's a little bit hard, right?
Yeah. Gee, we are the most screwed up society. Let me tell you, Tua, right? Tua Tagovailoa has been the story of the last couple months. The way that he came back after the concussions, the way that he's playing, the way that Mike McDaniel has pulled this, that, and the other out of him, the way that his numbers are so insane. The guy hasn't turned the ball, he hasn't thrown an interception since September. Now he goes against the San Francisco 49ers, whose head coach, Kyle Shanahan, was Mike McDaniel's mentor for basically his entire career. He goes against Kyle Shanahan, who knows Mike McDaniel better than anybody in the National Football League. And he goes against a 49ers team that, oh, by the way, has a pretty amazing defense. And people are like, what's wrong with Tua? Like, seriously? Seriously? Can we just, like, look at this for a minute? And so to your point, G, it's like we expect every quarterback to be the next coming of Peyton Manning, but, oh, not the Peyton Manning that won his second Super Bowl when he could barely throw the ball, but Peyton Manning who's this, that, and the other. I mean, even my son said the other day, and remember, he's just 7 years old, he's like, oh, well, Tom Brady used to be the GOAT, but now he's not anymore because now he's old. Well, let's have a conversation about that.
No, your son is right.
Not be
Your son is right.
Right now at the elitist level, but he is still the all-time winningest quarterback. He is still, in a game that is measured by championships, he is still the quarterback that has the most championships. You don't just, you may not, and that's like the point of all time. Like you got one Sunday afternoon to show us how great you are. And if you have a bad Sunday afternoon, well, then forget it. That's like Steve Becker saying, well, Aditi's having a lousy Thursday, so we don't want her as a guest anymore.
She's out of here.
Come on. Not everybody can be perfect, can have a perfect quarterback rating, whatever that is.
We expect you to be perfect, Aditi. We expect the perfect quarterback rating from you.
That ship sailed a long time ago. My parents expected that too, and they are still living with the disappointment.
Now, do you expect Deshaun Watson not to have a perfect game, but to be a little slightly better in a game that actually matters against the Bengals?
Gee, how hard would it be to be slightly better?
Thank you.
I mean, that's
the bar is on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
Seriously, right? My gosh. Now,
Slightly.
look, we went into that game saying that we had absolutely no idea what 700 days of rust would really look like. And the week before, I had seen Kyle Allen, who had not played in a regular season game also in 2 years because Kyle Allen had suffered this gruesome leg injury. And so a lot of that time was spent rehabbing, and then he was on a team last year, but wasn't really fully 100%, and said it wasn't until training camp that he was fully 100%. But he had been practicing every single week. We had a Deshaun Watson that, sure, he was throwing with his quarterback coach, and sure, he was doing strength training, but that's not the same as running through a practice and running with a bunch of 30-year-old guys running routes for you. I mean, you think that their timing matches Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz and Amari Cooper? So, that was just about as rusty as, kudos to the Browns defense, kudos to the special teams, kudos to some degree to the run game, whatever. But, yeah, he has to pick it up. I just don't know how long it takes to knock off 700 days of rust. I don't know. And I said this to you guys on Tuesday. I don't know if just getting out there once, if seeing a live rush once, if seeing a live defense once is enough to just flip the switch back on. Like, oh, yeah, okay, all my muscle memory is back. I don't, having not played the position, certainly not played it in the National Football League, I really can't speak to that.
There seems to be this weird thought or line of question. Kevin's even got a couple questions about it the last couple of days about going back to Jacoby. Can we stop this? Like, what sense does that make? Like, Deshaun is the $230 million quarterback. He's going to play regardless. Like, this whole idea about the Browns can still make the playoffs is nonsense. This is what I'll say. This is what I will say in defense of beat writers, because I think being a beat reporter is one of the hardest jobs that there possibly is. Jason, you and I have both done this, and my goodness, aren't we lucky that we get to do the 30,000-foot view now as opposed to getting at the beat. But sometimes you have to ask the question just to get the answer on the record. Agreed.
I think that we are all smart enough to recognize that the Browns are thinking big picture, that the Browns have committed $230 million to this quarterback for the long term. This is a conversation we just had 5 minutes ago, that you have to be thinking about the future as much as you are thinking about the right now. If the Browns right now were sitting at 11-1, then yes, it is very valid to say, well, the Browns are in the thick of it. The Browns are on the cusp of a potential major run. The Browns have been led by Jacoby Brissett, who is clearly fresher and more ready and is the guy that has led them to 11 wins. okay, yes, there's a question. That's not where the Browns are sitting right now. Browns are hoping that they can back into the playoffs somehow. The Browns are hoping that they can put together some sort of run. But the number one priority for the Browns is setting themselves up with the quarterback that they committed an unprecedented amount of guaranteed money to. And so what best prepares that quarterback? Seeing actual live game action that counts. We just talked about how ugly last week was because he hasn't seen any live game action. The Cleveland Browns organization is not served by sitting this guy because Jacoby right now is playing better. The health of the organization, the future of the organization is tied to Deshaun Watson playing better. But again, we all know this. Every beat writer in Cleveland knows this. Every radio guy in Cleveland knows this. But you don't want to hear that from me. You want to hear Kevin Stefanski say that. So that's why the question needs to be asked.
I agree with you. It's just come up a couple
entertaining this and arguing for Jacoby to play. Well, then those people sometimes you can't argue with stupid.
It's come up more than once. Like, I agree with you. You do it once, you get it on the record, you move on. It just seems like this has come up a couple of times, and I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we even talking about?
Yeah, I know. You know what? I don't know. I know. Like I said, Jason, I'm just glad. I'm, knock on wood, I don't have to go back to being a beat writer in the future of my career.
Last thing,
I just don't think it's a thankless job.
We all know Stefanski 5-0 against the Bengals. They're 4-0 against Joe Burrow. And most importantly, 2-0 the last 2 years since the Bengals have been good. And both those wins were dominating efforts. The two best games the Browns have played the last 2 years were their wins over the Bengals. Is there something to it? Is there a mental hurdle? Is Joe Burrow worried about the Browns? I don't know. Or is it coincidence? And do you expect it to change this week?
I mean, I think last year you'd have to chalk up a lot to circumstance. I mean, it's almost like you have to throw out week 18. Joe Burrow didn't play. Jamar Chase didn't play. Chase played one series. Joe Mixon didn't play. So many guys were rested. So throw that one out. And then, the one in Cincinnati, I was at that game, of course, and I keep saying this, that was the Odell Beckham Jr. release week when when his dad put out the video saying that Baker kept missing him. And obviously there was, pushback from within the organization that this is not painting the whole entire picture here. And Odell was ultimately asked to stay home and then given his release. So there was that sense of sort of circling the wagons, but also the way that game started was Joe Burrow marching all the way down the field without any sort of issue. It looked like it could have been a really, really long day for the Browns until all of a sudden Denzel Ward steps in front of Jamar Chase and returns an interception 99 yards for a touchdown that completely sucks all of the air out of that stadium, out of what was then Paul Brown Stadium, now Paycor Stadium, and the momentum completely shifts, and that game changed on that one major, massive play. And so the Browns were certainly better that day because they jumped off of that huge play, whereas the Bengals couldn't kind of get past that play and get their act back together and calm down and see the rest of the game, whatever you want to say. It's hard to say that those two individual games mean the Browns own the Bengals. Having said that, I did say to all of you on Tuesday, I think it's a nice matchup. I think that what the Browns do well matches up well with what the Bengals do well. I think that the Bengals have 3 top flight receivers. They have a very clear number one in Jamar Chase. They have a guy in T. Higgins that could be a number one on a lot of teams and really arguably is a 1B. And they've got a great, great, great slot receiver in Tyler Boyd. And meanwhile, the Browns, when that secondary is healthy, being able to put a Greg Newsome in the slot on every play and not just moving guys around, I think that's a really nice matchup. I think when that secondary is healthy, that secondary can really match up with receivers. I think that rush is nice against a line, when Myles Garrett and Clowney are playing as well as they are. I think it's a nice matchup. That's it. Some teams face up against other teams well. And I also think it's a burgeoning rivalry. And I expect Cincinnati to be way, way, way more nasty than Houston was. And I wonder what that crowd does. I wonder if having constant boos and profane chants, if that's what it is, and all of that is another one of those circle the wagons moment. I mean, doesn't Cleveland sort of like this idea of us against the world?
Certainly. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. Aditi, great stuff as always. Have a great weekend. Where are you this weekend? What are you doing this weekend?
You know, he says great stuff, but like he was scrolling through Twitter while I was
wasn't
talking,
scrolling
so
through Twitter.
At least part of it was great,
I was looking
right?
at our
Maybe
show
not all of it.
rundown to remind myself.
Wait, Bull, show her the picture. Show her the picture real quick. Let's see what she thinks of the picture of us that Robert
Oh,
There you go.
drew. Aditi, check this
yeah.
out.
where do you want it? Here? Here?
Yeah, hold it there, right there, Jason. So, Aditi, we had Robert Conley, a local Cleveland artist, in studio to start the show. He was going to be at the end of the show, but then the car crashed and all this stuff happened. And he drew us this. All the artwork you see on set is his. And check out this awesome picture of us.
Wow. And he did that before he came, or he did that? Oh, he did. He prepared it before.
Yeah, no, this is not on the show. This was before, but doesn't G.
So
Bush
cool.
look like a 23-year vet NFL coach?
I mean, it looks
Gee,
like
Bush,
Byron
you
Leftwich
look
right
so
there.
lean. You look so slim. Do you think that he could paint me just as skinny too?
Yeah,
That's what I
could
said.
you?
I haven't been that skinny in 20 years.
He's still here in studio. We
Aditi,
could ask him.
You're very skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to say that to a woman these days,
Let me
but
see.
you are very skinny.
My pants just don't fit.
Oh,
That's what
stop
the problem
it.
is, guys.
We talked about this. Just buy bigger pants.
Oh, bigger
Don't
pants.
you do
Yeah,
it.
no.
Don't you do it.
I need a
Stop
new
it.
contract. I need a new contract. Then
There we
maybe
go.
could get that.
We might get. He might be able to draw.
There's
you,
the
dude.
artist right there.
Right,
That's amazing work. Let me tell you, amazing
She said
work.
that's
I'm
amazing
so
work.
impressed.
Amazing.
Capturing- The best part is capturing everybody's personality so
Yes.
well too. Like that's a really you could see everybody's
Dang, look at Brad's neck.
see who they all are in their facial expressions.
Yeah, exactly.
Jay looks like Barack Obama. He's right next to me. He's a light skinned Barack Obama. Like he kind of looks like him. She sees it.
You
Right
guys
there.
are great.
Aditi, thank you very much. We appreciate
Thanks,
it
Aditi.
as
Bye,
always.
everybody. See you next
Peace.
week.
See ya.
Guys, we were talking about